Welcome to the 46th episode of The Smartest People in the Room. Hard to believe we've been doing that many shows during the pandemic, but the reason we have is simple. There are so many interesting and smart people out there, and there's quite an appetite to hear what they have to say. Today, I am thrilled to present our final program of 2020, and it's going to be a doozy. Let me say that we are already fast at work programming a full slate of amazing events starting on January 7. But for now, I am excited to present two of the smartest, most accomplished guests we know. These two guys have made a successful career by their uncanny ability to see around corners and take full advantage of the next big thing coming in entertainment and technology. Before we get started, let me take care of some business. First, to the audience, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat window. The reason we do these webinars is twofold. First, we want to showcase really smart people and the amazing work they do day to day in the entertainment industry. But the second reason is a bit more nuanced. Many of you know that I am a music industry headhunter. By definition and function, I help people connect with companies. In this series, my goal is to help you make more connections, and I invite you to take full advantage of that opportunity. Specifically, I invite you to engage with the speakers and the other attendees in the chat of the Zoom. Please introduce yourselves, say hello to your friends, and make some new ones. Ask questions of our speakers. We will try to address as many of those along the way as possible. And make sure that you have your chat set to address speakers and attendees, not just speakers. Also want to thank our sponsors, for without their support, we couldn't do what we do. I want to thank First Horizon Bank, Bufkin Baker, Four Roses Bourbon, the Fairlane Hotel, the Tennessee Entertainment Commission, Lightning 100, Tennessee Brew Works, Moo TV, Jive Printing, Project Music, and Cushmaster's brand of CBD products. So let's get down to business. In today's host seat, we welcome back the music industry's international ambassador of goodwill, my friend Ralph Simon. Ralph has enjoyed a spectacular 30-plus year career in a variety of prominent fields. Music industry visionary who co-founded major indie leader Zomba and Jive Records, signed talent, grew a globally successful music publishing company, managed some of the world's top record producers, was EVP of Capitol Records and Blue Note, and foresaw the potential of mobile phones and social media very early on. One of the founders of the global mobile entertainment and mobile social media industry, and popularly known as the father of the ringtone, that is Ralph. His reputation as a distinguished interviewer and moderator in the US and around the world with a captivating interviewing style consistently attracts plaudits. He correctly predicted that the future belongs to screenagers everywhere who run their social media lives, music streaming, and connecting on their mobile phones. He's currently developing an exciting new music series for TV and social media called The Virtuosos. He's founder and CEO of Mobilium Global, the international cool hunters and startup investors. Based in London, Ralph maintains long-standing links in the US and globally. He's a fellow of the Royal Society of Arts in the UK and a member of the Recording Academy in the US. Welcome back, Ralph. And joining Ralph as today's special guest is Lee Trink. Lee's an entrepreneur in the entertainment and media industries focused on the convergence of gaming and entertainment as both a cultural movement and an explosive business. As the CEO and co-owner of FaZe Clan, the largest, most followed esports and gaming organization in the world, Lee is creating a brand that extends beyond esports into mainstream entertainment through content, collaborations, and e-commerce. In 2001, he became GM of the Artist First label Lava Records. He went on to lead Virgin Records as general manager and COO with much success, resulting in his promotion of becoming president of EMI's Capitol Music Group, which includes Capitol Records, Virgin Records, Blue Note Records, and Astral Works Records. Lee was responsible for launching the careers of superstars Katy Perry and Jared Leto's 30 Seconds to Mars, and also architecting groundbreaking global marketing campaigns for the Rolling Stones, Coldplay, Lenny Kravitz, and many others. Lee always had a yearning to manage auspicious talent, and following Capitol Music Group EMI experiences, he established his own business, managing multi-platinum recording artists Kid Rock, the Backstreet Boys, and Ice Cube. He produced a charity album for the King of Thailand and worked his marketing prowess for iconic brands including General Motors, Harley Davidson, and Jim Beam. He also became an executive producer of the Tony Scott directed movie Unstoppable, starring Denzel Washington, and also produced Sean Penn's short film Americans. Lee had the vision and understanding that the gaming community was changing the face of entertainment around the world. He was drawn to getting completely involved in the esports and gaming businesses and switched over lanes to become CEO and co-owner of the leading esports organization, FaZe Clan. At FaZe Clan, Lee is on a mission to change the way people think about esports, not as a niche sports for gamers, but as an entertainment juggernaut. His 25-year career delivers that conviction, ammunition, and playbook to make this vision a reality. Please welcome these two incredible guests to the smartest people in the room. Take it away, Ralph.
Thank you very much, Tom. And let's see, we can see each other. That's great. Lee, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is so great to see you. You're live in LA, lockdown California, but you made it, and you made it to the smartest people in the room. Welcome to Lee Trink. Lee.
Thanks for having me. And Ralph, as always, amazing to see you and amazing to speak with you.
Just so great to see you. And I'm so glad that Tom could just give our viewing and listening audience some background about your own stellar career in music. But what people are not really perhaps as aware of is the passion that you decided to deploy, employ, and figure into the gaming business. And just for those of you that are not really familiar with the gaming business, remember this, it's a $140 billion business globally, right, Lee? Something of that magnitude?
It's massive. I mean, gaming overall is bigger than movies, music combined.
4 times bigger than the movie business, 6 times bigger than the music business. It is really important. And most important of all, it's the voice of young Gen Z and millennials around the world, not just the United States, not just the UK, not just Europe, but everywhere there is anybody that's got either a mobile phone or a console game player, man, this is where it is. So Lee, first of all, just great that you can be here. You are the CEO of FaZe Clan. FaZe Clan is really the most important gamer team in the world. So we are really privileged and so proud to have you with us, and particularly so as the year comes to a close, a difficult year, but one in which games and gamers and playing video games is off the charts in terms of usages.
Definitely. No, it's look, it's been a tough year for everybody. It's been a mixed bag for us. I think that, we had challenges. We had most of the esports tournaments were canceled. But I think what we probably benefited most by, the majority of our activity was able to continue. We were able to kind of come up with new revenue streams and new ideas, new creative pursuits that leaned into the pandemic and the lockdowns. And probably what we benefited most from is, since nearly all entertainment entertainment companies and sports industries were kind of were had to stand down this year, at least for the most part of the year, that we really got the attention that was a long time coming, to be quite frank. Since this industry kept on rolling, when there was an absence of other content to consume, other and entertainment vehicles, and what's been happening with the sports league is that people were almost forced to reckon with gaming.
So Lee, let's just talk about FaZe Clan for those people that are not familiar with it. FaZe Clan's a media company with multiple esports teams, right? And
yeah, it's sort of a media. Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
Finish the sentence. It also has an in-house talent management division. So how many teams do you have? How many players do you have in the FaZe Clan team structure?
So overall, we have about 85 talent total, and I'll break down what that's comprised of.
Right.
So about 40 of that talent, they participate. They are gamers that compete professionally in one of our 8 esports teams, right? So we have 8 different esports teams. Each team plays a different game. Each team is comprised of different members, and that makes up about 40 of our 85 members. The other 40 are content creators. And so what does that mean? Content creators are typically, there's 2 main pursuits. There is YouTube style videos, right? Like vlogging. That is sometimes about gaming, but mostly not about gaming, but more about things that just would interest the gaming audience and our audience. And then the other part of content creators are streamers. And so people who have heard about Twitch, of course, that's where we have. I'll give you a specific example from our largest Twitch streamer. So our largest Twitch streamer, he goes by the name of Nick Merckx. He will stream about 300 days out of the year. And he will stream on any given day 6, 8, maybe 10 hours at one time. And just to give you a sense of how big the audience is, his typical stream will at one point reach 100,000 concurrent viewers. A week or so ago, he actually passed 220,000 people concurrently watching really practice and talk to the audience. So those are the 2 points. That's when we say content creators, that's what they do. These are people that are really entertainers more than they are professional gamers. They tend to be great gamers, but they're really personalities and they're entertainers. Then we have a handful of celebrity members, like Offset from the Migos, Lil Yachty, Ben Simmons from the 76ers. So people like that kind of round out, and we have really celebrity they're members. They're not just kind of ambassadors. They're actual members of FaZe Clan that fly the flag, and they do it for the love of gaming, and they do it because they love FaZe Clan as a brand and what it stands for.
So what is interesting in the way that you've constructed this and the way FaZe Clan works, it's got a strong sense of social responsibility. I mean, just this year you had a major social responsibility drive to raise some funds for people that might have COVID. You raised nearly $150,000. But more important than that, just in terms of looking at the way that you think of the world and games, and obviously people in 2019 knew all about Fortnite. Give us some kind of idea as to how do the tournaments actually work on a global basis? It's not just US, because you're scouting the world to see whether you'll play on Fortnite or Dota 2, which is an important tournament played in China. Give us some sense of the magnitude of it.
So this is absolutely global. I think what people don't understand is the tournaments tend to be held locally. Not to get too deep into it, but if you're actually too far from a server where the game is hosted, you're at a disadvantage. So teams do actually go together. Sorry. So it really is. It's global. I mean, to be honest, it's bigger in Asia. It's bigger in Asia, and it's bigger just in China than it is in the U.S. Although we're catching up, and so there's kind of an arms race to how big the audiences are. But it's China is ahead of us in the maturity of the industry. I think different parts of Asia are also. Korea is certainly more mature. SEA is developing, but they've got some really exciting things going on. And we consider ourselves a global team. We have teams around the world. We have an amazing team that's based in Brazil. We have a couple of teams that are based in Europe. We have a team that's based in Thailand, and we certainly have US teams. And that's in some ways the beauty of not having the team tethered to a city specifically. And I think what's interesting, and one of the ways that I sort of describe what this is, because look, honestly, it's not apparent on its face what this is if you're sort of new to this space. So I explain it in a couple of different ways. When I try and explain what is FaZe Clan as an organization, and if I were to create some analogies. So imagine if the Lakers as a brand not only had an NBA team, but they also had an NFL team, and they also had a baseball team, and they also had tennis players, and maybe they had a couple of golfers, and maybe they had a NASCAR team, maybe they have a cricket team in India, and all of those would all fly FaZe Clan as the flag. That would be the brand name that tethers all of these sports in all of these different areas. That's one part of it. Then imagine if next to, alongside those teams, you had a big group of very famous, they're mainly influencers that have a very big audience. And if you had that group making content for your fans, that's maybe the best way to say it. These guys, what they do is they create content that they think the fans will enjoy. Gaming sits at the DNA. Gaming certainly is part of a lot of the content, but I would say most of the content is non-gaming, and it's just what would resonate. And imagine if all of those things, people that are shooting, the people that are streaming, all the different teams were all tethered by one global brand. That's what FaZe Clan is.
Amazing. So what I thought we should do is, we've got a great reel that, Tom, if we could just cue that up. We've got a short video clip, but this will give you a sense of FaZe Clan, the great logo that you've developed over the years. So let's roll the video and let's see what FaZe Clan is all about. Where's the volume there, Tom? Can we get the volume? FaZe up, indeed. So, Lee, just some questions on that. Obviously, getting a sense of the broad spread of what FaZe Clan is, but also the amazing thing is, when you were talking about the analogy with sports teams, of course, sports teams is physical, but the whole games industry was born digital. So therefore, everything about it is digital. Everything you're seeing is digital, right?
Yeah, and I think I think what people have a tendency to do is they take this new thing and they have their pockets of understanding from other from their experience, and they try and fit this new thing into their existing pockets of understanding. And I think if you start to do that, you're already on the wrong path. This is a very idiosyncratic industry. It's an idiosyncratic audience. And I think what's really interesting, in contrast to every other facet of the traditional entertainment space and the traditional sports space, this is the only digitally native industry. This is an industry born on the internet and born digitally. And as a result, just that foundation almost changes everything that flows from it. And when we even try and add events to it and add in-person, like, that's actually an interesting challenge, because it's not what the audience, it's not typical in what the audience has in the way they've experienced gaming. But I think that also it gives it different nuances because it's digitally native that I think inform a lot of the components of the industry.
Okay, so some interesting things about this. You've got some interesting investors in the company, which we'll come to in just a minute. But originally, when FaZe Clan was started by Eric Clip Z Rivera, Jeff Housecat Eman, and Ben Resistance Christensen, they were some of the driving players right in the early stages. Of course, today with the 39 or 40 players that you've got active, everyone has got their own kind of handle that they use. And just to give people an idea, you've had some interesting investors in the company. You've had people like Ben Simmons and Jamal Murray, well-known sports people. You've had skateboarder Niger Houston. You've had the radio host Big Boy. You've had Sylvia Rohn, the well-known record executive, very prominent record executive at Sony. Troy Carter, the well-known manager, and now the owner of Q&A, interesting company. And also Guy Osiri, who manages Madonna and U2, and also Jimmy Iovine, who's been an investor in the company. So you've got really an interesting group of people that also saw the importance of gaming early on.
Yeah, it was really interesting for me. My overall experience. I've been involved in FaZe Clan. I started as an advisor, over 5 years ago, and now I've been CEO for 2 years, I've been trying to talk to people in the entertainment business about what we're doing and about what the space is doing, for the better part of 5 years. And so I've seen that trajectory of understanding, and also have a sense of who got it early on and who kind of didn't get it. And,
Right.
Candidly, most people didn't get it. And I think that's still where it sits now. Is I think people will say, okay, I must get it. I'm reading the tea leaves of what the future is, and it seems like I ought to get this, but I still believe that most people don't really understand what it is, and don't understand how to really collaborate with the gaming industry. But people like Sylvia, people like Jimmy, they really got it. And I think that one of the most interesting parts, and it was, I took a great source of pride when they kind of parroted back to me something that I had said to people in the past, and I had said it pretty sheepishly in trying to describe what was going on with gaming. I compared it to hip hop in the earlier days, which I think sounds almost outrageous on its face. And then when I heard that back from Sylvia and from Jimmy, who have had plenty of experience in actually the birth and ascendancy of hip hop, I felt vindicated in that in that viewpoint that, again, I was fairly sheepish about. But I think what that stems from is hip hop at one point was just considered a music genre, and then really transformed into something much greater. It transformed into a lifestyle, and I think initially a niche lifestyle, and then as a dominant pop culture lifestyle overall, in its global influence. And I see the same trajectory, as hard as it is for probably the majority of our audience to really wrap their head around. It's the same trajectory. Video games started off as a hobby. It started off as something to spend your time and to whatever people's specific reasons. But over time, as the audience grew to kind of monolithic proportions, right? The audience of gamers is really massive. And then it's really the early guys of FaZe Clan that started to define what gaming lifestyle could be, right? And again, it sounds, how do you put the, I'm sorry?
That's so important.
It certainly, looking back, that was the genesis of why gaming is as influential and as important in
Right.
this demographic and youth culture as it is today. And part of that shift I know happened with some of my guys. There was really a watershed moment where the original content around gaming was strictly gaming content and was strictly what was on the game, what was the screen on the game. And then at one point, some of my guys turned the cameras on themselves to start to mix up their content. And while they actually got a lot of flack for that in the beginning, that really changed the entire trajectory of gaming, period. And I think that's also why FaZe Clan is in the position that it is now. FaZe Clan led the charge in turning gaming from a hobby to a lifestyle. And these were, what we consider the founders. There's four of them that actually didn't create the name FaZe Clan, that came in sort of immediately after. But they are the ones that helped define what this thing is, to sort of show gamers. I think that part of it is they were the first ones to be unapologetic about their love of gaming. And I think that meant a lot. I think that resonated with a large community of people that had an immense passion for gaming, yet were maybe sheepish about being vocal. And I even know stories from artists. Now, fast forward a bit, I know stories because artists have told me this, where their camp around them had discouraged them from being vocal about their love of gaming because they thought it was not good for their brand. And here we are, fast forward several years later, where you have people like an Offset and a Lil Yachty that are looking to define what they are partially through gaming. And
Exactly.
it's a seismic shift.
Exactly. But are you saying then that the music industry, the music business, as we know it today, has still not really fully embraced the gaming side of things? Or are you seeing more of an amalgam between games and music? I noticed Twitch just recently started introducing music into their platform. But what's your sense in terms of the music business and the gaming business having a much better kind of compact together?
So number one, they're really perfect collaborators. It's very natural. It's very natural for the two to collaborate. Where we are now is I think, at the beginning of testing what collaboration looks like. I think that for the most part, that is not typical. I think for the most part, it's very sparingly done. And part of it is, I'll tell you, over the last year plus. I mean, it's happened a little more often before the pandemic, but I had colleagues of mine from the music business that were running record labels that would sit down with me, would try and understand and try and wrap their head around it. Right? It starts with real understanding, rather than there's the obvious. Can you put my single in your stream so so people can hear it? Okay, that's obvious. Certainly that works. Some of my streamers have broken artists. We've been really instrumental in helping to break songs or artists historically, and so just using the music in the stream, okay, that's the obvious and that's a start. But I think that what are the other frontiers that we can conquer? We did an amazing collaboration with Interscope and Juice World in the launch of Juice World. And we put together kind of an amazing merch collaboration. We shot content around it. Some of the FaZe Clan members had a personal relationship with Juice World, so I think that was it connected the two brands more strongly, because there was really a personal experience there, and we blew the doors off. And we certainly contributed to Juice WRLD having a #1 album. So I think that was a great way to collaborate. It's kind of a little more creative than just putting a track in the stream. But I think where it starts and where what I, again, this is from my personal experience and conversations, where it has to start with from the music industry as a whole is actual respect for the gaming audience and the gaming industry. There's sometimes I've seen a belief where, a music artist or somebody at a label is talking about something and I can hear it in the tone that it feels like I'm doing you a favor by bringing this cool artist into your fold. And where I, depending on who it is, I would say, number one, we have individual guys you've never ever heard of that are actually more famous and more popular than this person, but that's not the way it's going to work. This is like I said, a very idiosyncratic audience, an audience that penalizes carpetbaggers, that penalizes inauthenticity. It penalizes us for inauthenticity. If we do something that does not resonate, I have learned the hard way about how that really my approach to running this company as sort of brand development is almost identical to my approach in managing an artist, because you have to begin with total respect for your fan base.
That's what you did with Kid Rock, and in fact, Kid Rock is even one of the investors in the company. But here's something I wanted to ask you about, and also good to see Susan Brazer as part of the audience, and we'll tell Susan a bit about the platform. Christina Brilliance, nice to see you there. Brett Saperstein, you too. But Lee, how about this? These are various games that are played in tournaments all over the world, all across America. Call of Duty, Counter-Strike Global Offensive,
yep.
Player Unknowns, Battlegrounds.
Yeah, that's one game. Player Unknown Battleground. It's colloquially known as PUBG.
Player Unknown Battleground, PUBG, which is now the world's biggest mobile game, and it's owned by Tencent, who own 10% of Universal. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege.
Yep.
FIFA, obviously, a soccer game that's very popular. Fortnite Battle Royale, which is made by a Finnish company. FIFA Online, Valorant. I mean, there's a bunch of these different games. Do your players, your 39 key players, and I don't like to even call them players, I like to call them esports athletes, because really they are athletes.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, look, what I say when I'm challenged with that, I sometimes say, what's the difference between fast feet and fast hands? Why are you drawing a delineation where fast feet is certainly athletic and fast hands are not? And what I would say, there's more strategy, more hand-eye coordination, a much more sophisticated operation needed to execute as a gamer, rather than a 100-meter run, for example.
So there's an important ranking system, which I guess is way bigger than the Billboard charts, really. And the ranking is the Global Esports Index. I think we've got a slide, Tom, just showing a recent ranking, which has FaZe Clan as #1 in the world rankings of esports teams. Can we pull that up? We'll pull that slide up. Let's take a look. Just to give you some kind of idea, this measures some of the top teams in the world, including, of course, FaZe Clan #1, and the results have just come out for November 2020. FaZe Clan still #1. Other teams in the classification: G2 Esports, MIBR, Energy, Team Secret, Fnatic, TSM, Pain Gaming, T1 League of Legends. How many of you have heard? There we are. They're great. There's a slide. Oh, wow, look at that, 14.4 million. That's from the August rankings. And I can tell you that in the November rankings, FaZe Clan are still way ahead at #1. Those logos on the left there, I wanted you to get into just the importance of your merch, because with FaZe Clan, merch is a badge of honor that people like to wear.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a representation of their love of the brand, right? The same way, you wear a rock T-shirt or a T-shirt of your favorite band. But I think what's interesting is there's been a real influx of streetwear culture into gaming, and so as a result, we've had several of our merchandise drops that have really kind of behaved in a hype beast fashion. We've had some drops where we sold $2 million worth of merch in 24 hours.
Wow.
We've had instances where we could sell $500,000 of merch in 5 minutes. It's that there's that level of passion by the fans.
That is amazing. And are you seeing merch on an international basis as well? This is not just United States you're talking about, because once you are committed to your team, whether it's PUBG as a mobile game or whether it's one of the console games, you're going to support the team. And how do you come up with designing different elements of merch? Is it particular fashion lines, or how do you do it? How do you create them?
So we have, some young out there kids that are like on the bleeding edge of what's happening in streetwear culture, and, and developing kind of amazing designs that resonate with youth culture, right? And there's sort of two paths. There is the more traditional kind of sports apparel that we do, right? The jerseys and the more kind of a straight logo look. And then there's the cutting edge streetwear designs. That we also we also deliver. So that merchandise is a very important expression of the brand.
And is Twitch essentially the primary gamer platform channel? Because I know Susan Brazier wanted to ask about your platform, but when you're looking at expanding the FaZe Clan reach, obviously Twitch, which was originally founded by Kevin Lin and one of his mates, and now a major platform that belongs to Amazon. How do you define where your best channels would be, and how do you frame that, and how does FaZe Clan make money?
So, okay, well, a couple of different things that I'll unpack there. So,
Right.
Twitch is the dominant streaming platform, or it's at least the most well-known streaming platform. But YouTube has a streaming platform that's very popular, and even Facebook has a streaming platform that's very popular. So Twitch is the one that tends to be kind of first one, but on streaming, there's multiple platforms that do streaming, but really probably the platform that really drives the brand popularity is certainly historically for us has been YouTube in terms of the vlogs. And so, that the vlogs are really content that, on-demand content that you watch. The streaming is different. And there's sort of a recent comparison that I've been making in trying to describe to people what's happening with streaming, because I think it's another thing that seems peculiar, right? I think that anybody in the audience that has, an under 20, certainly male, and knows that they spend hours and hours and hours and hours watching these people play, it's kind of confusing. And so I'm gonna draw a parallel that I think will clarify the relationship between the audience and these streamers, right? Remember, I said we have one of our guys streaming 300 days a year for hours and hours and hours and hours. And what I would say is, what else in entertainment is similar to that? And I would say it's radio. Talk radio is the kind of thing where people tune in all the time. It becomes a routine, and you sometimes actively listen, sometimes passively listen, according to what else you're doing. And as a result, one of the examples I give is like the Howard Stern show, right? A lot of devoted fans that, due to the amount of time that they spend interacting or listening, they feel like they feel that they know these people, right? I think fans of a radio show that listen every day believe that they actually know them. They're almost hanging out with them. And that's kind of the relationship that the fans have with streamers. they are almost an extension of their friend circle. And what's even more exciting and creates more connectivity, unlike a radio show where they've got to pick up on a caller, there is a chat that accompanies the stream where everybody that's viewing can participate in the chat and ask questions or make comments or there's all sorts of interactivity that, that exists while they're spending hours and hours and hours with their favorite gamers. And as a result, they feel very connected to them. So that's probably the closest analogy of why would somebody spend so much time watching them, essentially practice gaming or just game for fun.
Amazing, just really interesting. Something I wanted to touch base on is when you get new members joining the team, where you effectively set it up as a recruitment challenge. Recently, you were looking to get 5 new players to come into the FaZe Clan team, and you set up basically a challenge whereby you would seek out people that would want to become part of the team. Tell us a little bit about this, what drove you to do that, and what were the results of it?
So, it's actually something that FaZe Clan has done a handful of times over the years. What's interesting about FaZe Clan is the brand has been around for 10 years. The business has really only been around for 3 years. So this is the first time that as a business, we enacted the Phase 5 challenge. And what this is sort of an open call, an open recruitment challenge. And you have to submit a video, you have to submit all of these things to be, to hopefully be one of 5 people selected to be in FaZe Clan.
Right.
I think that and this has happened, over the course of multiple years, where things happen and I'm just like blown away, and it makes me reassess the power of FaZe Clan.
Right.
And this was another instance. It actually hasn't happened in a while. I thought, okay, now I level set, I really understand. And here we are for 5 slots. And we had over 211,000 submissions for those 5 slots.
So how do you present it? How do you present it saying we want to fill these 5 new slots? What do they have to do in the submission to validate?
These are slots not for the competitive side,
Right.
because that it doesn't, you couldn't do it. This is more for the content side, for the more creative side of FaZe Clan. And what we also said is don't edit. If you think you should be part of FaZe Clan, even if you're an artist, if you're a visual artist and not gaming, if you're a travel vlogger that what FaZe Clan means resonate, just come. Let's see what we have a broad view of how we're expanding what FaZe Clan means. And so, there's a full package that needs to be submitted as part of it. And I mean, we were floored that we had, over 211,000 people submit. And, just to put it in context, and we started looking at things like this after we got that number because we were so floored, what we came to find is the number 1 most applied to school in the world is UCLA. And for their 16,000 openings, that last year they had 102,000 applicants for 16,000 slots. So I thought, man, that's pretty amazing.
Versus 211,000 you got for 5 slots.
That's right. So I think it's pretty extraordinary. And I will say, from watching the video submissions, I was floored to really hear what FaZe Clan means to the fans. It was almost like holding a mirror up to the brand, and to hear from your fan base's mouth why this is important to them and why FaZe Clan. I was humbled by the experience.
So the winners each take home $20,000 and an endorsement deal from a long-term sponsor of FaZe Clan, G Fuel. Yep. That's a drink, right?
Energy drink, yeah.
And then one winner will go home with a Nissan automobile.
Yes.
And
One of
so
our
you chose
sponsors. Yeah.
5 out of 211,000. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's incredible.
We've announced the top 20. We announced the top 100, then we've announced the top 20, and we're going to roll out the 5 winners at the end of this year.
So 67% of applicants are under 18, 26% between 18 and 24, 7% over the age of 24, with the average age being 16 and a half years old.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you about the future? Man, the future looks great.
The future is gaming. I mean, that's really it. I think that what I would also say to people to think about, and this is how I've started thinking about FaZe Clan from the beginning, when, it was not an easy decision to go make the choice to leave my business, basically close my music management business in order to do this. Certainly, let's call it not a popular decision amongst a lot of people that I consulted. But my approach to that decision, as well as my approach to what should FaZe Clan be doing as a business entity, is the classic Wayne Gretzky line of skate where the puck is going. And what I tried to imagine is, what does the future of gaming look like in its fully fleshed out form, seeing the things that I see. And in my view, and the way I describe it, is that gaming has been encroaching on the traditional entertainment and the traditional sports industries. We are starting to sort of edge our way and start to taking market share out of all of these companies. So when I think about what is the full expression of what we can be as a brand, whether that's 5 years from now or 10 years from now, it's imagining that and starting to try and make that now. And I think that that's really a lesson, certainly for the music business and really any business, is to say, think about where this business, understand where it is today, but position yourself to where this will be tomorrow, because, unless you're planning on retiring anytime soon, you're going to have to reckon with this. And the better you're positioned to capitalize on this audience shift, the better position you'll be in to win the future. And I think that's a really key point of, number one, leave all of your stereotypes and all of your preconceived notions, leave it at the door, walk in with an open mind, set aside your personal feelings about what you think gaming and gamers are, right? And what I'm talking about is kind of the stereotypical nerd in their parents' basement. If you're going to hold on to the nerd in their parents' basement as a stereotype, you're not going to make the right move here. You're gonna miss this.
I've got 3 questions for you. First of all, I wanted to speak to you about branding, because you've done quite some interesting deals. Manchester City, the soccer team in the UK, is one. And for those of you that are not aware of it, some of the big soccer teams like Barcelona and Manchester United have got their own gaming teams now. But the other thing I wanted to ask you was, in terms of the money that FaZe Clan makes, where do you see obviously you're getting revenue from merchandising, but just give us a sense of where your revenue comes in.
Yeah. So currently, the 2 biggest revenue drivers are content, direct content revenue, and
how does that benefit, for example?
So that's all the AdSense content on, from YouTube, all Now, again, the not the most as we all are kind of painfully aware of, that the platforms tend to take most of the economics, but it still adds up, and we have so much content that we push out. We get hundreds of millions of views a month across our network. So there's that content. There's also content licensing. We actually produced co-produced a film this year that actually was helmed by one of our talent. So there's revenue comes from
Brian Gawadis was the star of that.
Right. FaZe Rug, who has 16 million YouTube followers. Yeah, FaZe Rug. Yeah, one of our more popular guys. And so that's content is a big one. Content I think is going to be certainly in the near term the most scalable part of the business, especially as we start to roll out internationally. So there's that. Sponsorship and brand deals, very significant part of the business. We have some terrific sponsors. We've got, Verizon. Verizon is a sponsor. Nissan is a sponsor. Beats by Dre, the Apple company, is a sponsor. As you mentioned, G Fuel is our energy drink. We have a few endemic sponsors, like for peripherals and other things. So sponsorship is a huge part of our revenue mix as well. And then then there's merch, then there's esports, right? There's revenue derived directly from esports in the form of prize pools, player transfers fees. Just to give you a sense, I'll give you a sense of we did a player transfer fee. I wonder if I'm allowed to speak about that. I don't know. I'll get in trouble otherwise. But we did a deal. It was a 7-figure deal for a transfer fee for one of our players. That's where the space is already. And it's not the first one that's a 7-figure deal. They're becoming more and more common.
Well, this gives us a better sense. We've had some good questions coming in from Sarah Savitt. Also, John Troop. John Troop asks, "Hey Lee, how do you see FaZe Clan's relationships with rights holders, music licensing, and content used in gaming? Could you shed some light on FaZe's deals with PROs, labels, and publishers?" And then Glenn Booth wants to find out, what is the demographic breakdown, gender and race of competitive gamers? Two good questions. Any thoughts on those?
So we don't have any rights deals directly. Really, those are all handled via the way rights are dealt with on the platforms. And for us, our guys are savvy enough, and I think have been burned enough in some points where they don't use music that's not cleared. With very rare exception, does something like that happen. If we want to use something specific, we will get the rights for it. For example, I think we did something, I can't even remember what it was, but it was involving, Offset. And so we wanted a, Amigos track, or actually, I think we were just to kind of be a good partner to Offset. I think we wanted to use the latest single in some of our content. And so we went and got that cleared because, but the real answer to all of this is there needs to be a very streamlined way to do this. And what I would say to rights holders, if you think you're going to charge for this thing, the only path I see is a compulsory license that is turnkey and effortless for a content creator to participate in. If you're going to ask it for any clearance, you're just going to be left behind, and we'll move on to something else. The music in the content, it's important to have music. What that music is honestly less important. And I think that the music industry would do right by itself to think about this as radio, to think about this as the new radio, because I can tell you for sure, ain't none of my fans listening to the radio. Not a one, unless they're in the backseat of their parents' car. It's just not a thing. So, look for the promotional. The message that I told every label head that I've had a conversation is, if I were you, I would, and if you want to rotate them, but I would whitelist all of your priorities, make it available, and promote the fact of, please use my priority tracks, and again, you want to take them off the list once you have a different mindset, and once you're out of the promotional mindset and you want to turn it into revenue, do that. But to not leverage it properly, or to believe that you got to be paid in a different way, or to participate in the content in a meaningful way, ain't gonna happen. None of my content creators, every one of my content creators will say, thanks, but no thanks. I'll figure out, I'll take something else.
So what is clear is it's also one of the points that have been raised by Vicky Nauman, who I think you might know. Vicky, just a great pioneer in the space, but someone who's really so smart. and Peggy Dold, who also reinforced the fact that it's all about community and the way that you cater to that community with a blend of authenticity, new frequency. I mean, this is similar in a sense to the record business, but very different because this is not about playing to radio network. Yes, you want to get coverage on YouTube and you want to get coverage on Twitch, but it is about community and making sure that community is really well watered.
And it is about endearing yourself to that community. And I think that's maybe the best way for me to describe it, that your mission, if you want to connect with this community with whatever your marketing message is, whether it's whether it's a new album drop or a new tour you want to promote or a new brand or whatever it is, respect the audience and endear yourself to that audience. The good news is, if you do that, I'm going to make another comparison of where I've seen such passionate fans and supportive fans is almost like NASCAR-esque, right? The way NASCAR fans, they're fine to get brand messages. If you hit them right, they are believers and they are on you. If you're on their team, they're on your team. And that's very much like this is, if you endear yourself to this audience, they will come out and support you in droves.
Amazing, and they clearly do that. Tell us about Facebook. Do you have much interaction with the Facebook folks up in Northern California?
So not too much. I do talk to my buddy Leo Olieb, who runs global gaming partnerships for them. But the reality is, in the U.S., Facebook does not have a good brand for gaming in the U.S., and it's something that they've struggled with. Ex-US, however, it's very different. I will say that we haven't done enough to really focus on Facebook. It is undoubtedly about to change, and we're going to invest more mind share in developing a Facebook strategy. But because in the US, it's really not a real player, especially for a brand like ours, who, we're the cool kids of gaming. It's an awkward brand fit, but we always look for ways to collaborate.
So if you look at 2021, what is basically on the drawing board for the first few months? Is there going to be another fortnight, for example, next year? Is there going to be something in Asia that you're focusing on? Is this like the way that an international sports team looks at where the international competitions are going to be? How do you frame the geography of your timetable for next year?
So a lot of the tournaments are not really announced way in advance. I don't know if there'll be a Fortnite World Cup next year. We certainly hope there was. We think that did a lot for gaming and the gaming community, and did a lot for FaceClan. So I'm hopeful that will actually happen. From an international standpoint, we have, we've certainly been slowed down by the pandemic, but my plan from the beginning of my tenure has been to really attack a global strategy and roll out, or really plant flags around the world to both bring the FaZe Clan message and bring the FaZe Clan brand, but also to home grow talent from different regions, because again, we need to lean into the fact that we are not tethered to a city, and that we can be a local brand. We can be a global and a local brand by having representation locally. I mean, there's a question. So Brad Saperstein is asking about Latin America. We have huge Latin American plans. We have some terrific, Latin American candidates that are in the top 20 of Phase 5. We have, our Rainbow Six team in Brazil is certainly one of the top, 1-2, teams in the world of Rainbow Six. we know that the Latin American market is actually an untapped market for both FaZe Clan, and I think overall the industry has been underserved. Part of the challenge for us is there's so much for us to do, and there's so many places for us to go, both literally places around the world, but also expanding our offerings, that it's, we got to put one foot in front of the other and not bite off more than we can chew,
Right.
because, keeping the brand, keeping that brand messaging, and keeping that authentic and communicating, not only do you need to be authentic about how you communicate to the gaming audience, but that gaming audience behaves differently in different regions. And so you really have to be adept at speaking both their actual language and their figurative language.
So here's a question for you, just trying to get some kind of idea. Marshmello, popular, important artist, or Ninja,
Absolutely.
very important, that has also got a huge following internationally. Would you, in developing some of the new content elements and the frequency of content, look at maybe approaching the Marshmello management or Ninja's people or one or other of these artists to say, you've got a particular idea that might tie into a certain textural style that they were doing, kind of like a I&R, innovation and repertoire, rather than just A&R.
By the way, I like that. I might steal that.
Yours, you're my master.
I like
You're
that.
the master of this
I
space.
love it. I mean, funny enough, we actually we're close to the Marshmello camp, and with Marshmello and Mo they've been in our orbit. We've talked about things. We haven't kind of cracked the code on what that is that we should do together. Ninja, if you're talking about the gamer Ninja, we've also somebody that we have a great relationship with. He's sort of I think in a little bit of a different space than we are, right? First of all, he's an individual. He's still massive, but I would say he's not kind of on the cutting edge of the gaming movement at this point. I would say he's the pioneer of the gaming movement. I often call him the Neil Armstrong of gaming, right? He was the first kind of household name in gaming.
Good point. So in terms of looking at the wider global development, and looking at new forms of content or new ways of utilizing video, you've now set up your own production company that's going to be developing film material and TV material, which clearly is something. You've got a whole new or widening merch approach to developing your own FaZe Clan fashion components. So really, this takes a lot of managing.
Yeah, there's a lot of managing in a lot of different ways, and we're sort of inventing it as we go along. We're everything from the organization of the company and what the departments look like, and it's candidly it's been our best guess that has been under constant refinement. And even, where we should go with the brand is also an experiment on some level. And, because, FaZe Clan, because we're the 800-pound gorilla, I often feel that it is our obligation to lead the way. One thing I say often is, if not us, then who? And fill in the blank afterwards. And whether that is, tackling a new frontier or creating a new segment of business, or, breaking ceilings in the space, whether it's financial from a sponsorship standpoint or a deal standpoint, I feel it's incumbent on us to lead the industry while we're figuring out what we should be doing on a day-to-day basis.
Such a fascinating area that you're in, and you bring such incredible professionalism, Lee, if I may say so, directly to you, because really the way that you governed your music career some years back and the way that you managed the talent that you did and made sure that you got real distinction with the talent. I mean, for example, just in terms of the early development of Kid Rock, and more particularly now, what you're doing in terms of getting authenticity and community. This is very much the motif of the modern era.
Well, I think that it's really a page out of the music business. And what I'll say, and I've hired a lot of people from the music business, I actually think record executives and record companies give you a tremendous toolkit to work in this space. But the reason why it feels familiar to me is that in the music business, if you're doing it right, you know how to walk the tightrope between culture and commerce. Right? There's always that, if you're not leaving money on the table, you're probably hurting your brand. And the discipline it takes to say no, the discipline it takes to prioritize brand image and to prioritize your fans' experience over your pocket is something that, that you have to learn in the music business. If you didn't learn it, that means you're not successful or you've been spat out. And it's the exact same thing. It is how do we make sure that, as often as possible, if revenue opportunities can also advance the brand, that's perfection. And, and what are the decisions to make sure that you're not cutting your life cycle short? Right? It's sometimes the tension between a record label and a manager and artist, right? Record labels sometimes have a more short-term view of decision-making, whereas artists and managers must take a long-term view of that decision-making. And so that's the type of approach that we take at FaZe Clan. We are, and look, and it's a work in progress to really to make sure that everybody in the company really believes this and act this way, that we are a talent first organization, that we have to herald our talent, that we have to, we have to try and serve that talent and serve their careers while we continue to build the overall brand.
Well, Lee, unfortunately, we are just about beaten by the clock. We've got to start wrapping up, but I'm glad to say the great artist Michelle Schacht, who's one of our esteemed audience watching this, has left a quote on the chat line which says, quoting yourself, "If you're not leaving money on the table, you're probably hurting your brand." That's going to go down in the famous quotable quotes of all time in terms of gaming. So, Lee, first of all, a massive thanks to you, and thanks to FaZe Clan, and thanks to your great team, really incredibly professional team, but particularly to yourself for taking the time at the end of this particular year, difficult year as it is. It's always amazing to hear you and amazing to see the way that you've got this optimistic vision about the future of gaming and the future of all of the different spokes that make up the wheels that turn this, the most important area of entertainment, visual entertainment, technology, and digital, all combined into one. So Lee, thank you, thank you, thank you. Tom, over to you, and Tom to you. Thanks for having Lee and ourselves with us, and to all of the people that attended. Some great names: Audrey Parsons, Michelle Schacht, Glenn Booth, Chris Montgomery. Tom, over to you.
Thanks, guys, and FaZe up.
Hey, Ralph, thank you for just being awesome. As I introduced you earlier today, the International Goodwill Ambassador for the music industry. And Lee, holy moly, what a great story, inspiring and informative. And so ditto everything Ralph just said. To the audience, thank you for your investment of your time in this series. As I said, this is number 46. There's going to be about 100 more of these next year. We're already scheduled through April. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen today and in previous episodes, there's a lot more coming. Finally, to everybody out there, be safe, wear a mask, and be nice to each other. Happy holidays.